Hello again. In a previous demonstration, I've shown how to use Excel through a function, through VBA, and through a formula to calculate the half-hour period based on the date and time. The half-hourly calendar, if you remember, for the UK pound market, it works in increments from 1 to 48. We can do exactly the same thing, essentially using the same logic in Python. This little quick video just shows you how to do that. So I'll already start up a idle session and save down a script as period. And I'm going to work on the assumption that you want to calculate the current period based on the current date and time. So for that reason, I'm now going to import the datetime library. This should be, of course, installed in your version of Python by default. If you don't require the current period, but you wish to use this logic in a function to calculate based on the date and time you're going to pass into that function, then of course you don't need to import the date time. Now, having imported the library, I'm just going to define the function, or I should say, define the object now as equal to be the current date and time. And of course, I simply wish to work out what the current hour is. And that uses now.hour, and I need to know what the current minute is. The reason for these, of course, is that we need to know how many hours for the day have elapsed, and of those hours, how many minutes we are. So if we're in, for example, 8:34, then we're going to need 8 hours and 34 minutes, and that will then allow us to base it on how many half-hourly periods throughout the day we've been. So we've now created two quick objects here, which are one's contain the hour, one will contain the minute. Now, it may be the case, of course, that the half hours can be before 30 minutes and after 30 minutes. If they're after 30 minutes, so they're 34 minutes through the hour, for example, then we want to add on an extra half an hour for our calculation. So to deal with that, we'll just do a quick if statement. So if the current minute is greater than or equal to 30, what we then want to do is half hour add 1, and else half hour add equals 0. And the purpose of this, of course, as just stated, if you have a greater than half an hour, greater than 30 minutes through the hour, we want to add another 1 unit of those half hours onto the calculation. And that's all we need to do. And now what we need to do is just output that. Now we could define this to be some half-hour variable. I'm just going to print it to the screen. So we'll say print. Yeah, so a slight twist logic now what I'm going to do. So first of all, I'll calculate based on the current hour times by 2. The reason of that is, of course, that we need to. There are 48 half hours in a day, and so each hour needs to be contains 2 half hours. So that'll account for that. We also want to add on, of course, if we have any extra half hours. So we'll add that in. Now, that on its own, we think that should probably work, but there's a slight gotcha in that, of course, if we're in, say, midnight to midnight 30, then the current hour is 0, so 0 times 2 is 0, and say we were midnight 20, then our 20 minutes is less than 30, so that's going to be 0, so this will return half-hour period of 0, which we don't want. There's no half-hour period 0. So onto this, we just want to add on 1. That one will then also obviously propagate through the rest of the half-hourly calculations. Therefore, just a quick eyeball over the code. So once again, I'm importing datetime because I want to show what the current period is. I then define an object called now, which is equal to the current date and time. I want to extract the current hour and the current minute from this object here. So I then create 2 new objects, one called current hour, one called current minute. Current hour is now.minute, and current minute is now.minute. And of course I want to account therefore for the if we're before or after the half hour. So I say if we're greater than 30 minutes, so current minute is greater than 30, add an extra half hour into your assumptions, else don't. Finally, and this of course is if we wanted, we could record this to another variable, whatever, but I'm just going to print it to the screen, so I'm going to say current hour times by 2 to account for 2 half hours in the hour, add on the half hour, either 1 or 0, and to account for that fact that we don't start at 1, we're essentially starting at 0, i.e. midnight, we need to add that extra 1 onto there. So if I run this, then I get this number back. It happens to be that we're late in the night here, but it's period 2. And that is that. If you've got any comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Send me an email, click the link. I'll put the link to the original blog post down in the sort of notes section. And if you've got any comments,